I'm gonna start this review off with a bit of a sad reflection on the state of Disney XD as a channel. Over the past few years, Disney has been slowly shutting down the network internationally. The reason for this move is to push more people onto subscribing to Disney Plus, but I don't really understand the play here. If people are watching cable, then there are a variety of reasons for why they aren't subscribing. One of the best ways to ensure future subscribers is to give them a taste of the content you have to offer. And Disney XD offered a lot of shows you won't find on Disney's current channel. Shows like today's topic, Randy Cunningham, 9th grade ninja. Before we get into things, I actually want to address one more thing about these Disney XD closures. Back in March of this year, Disney XD had shut down in Latin America. A sad loss for sure, but reports say that this is the last thing viewers saw before the network was taken off the air. I couldn't think of a better possible note to end on. Anyhow, back to Randy Cunningham. Though it sounds like I'm reviewing the show as a memorial piece for the Disney XD channel, that isn't entirely the case. What really spawned my interest in reviewing the show was its resurgence these past few days. I can't get anywhere on YouTube without seeing clips of the show popping up. So really, there is no better time to talk about it. I mean, we gotta take advantage of the YouTube algorithm, guys. And truth be told, had it not gotten this resurgence, I probably would have never even reviewed it. One thing I'll mention going into this is that I didn't watch the show as a kid. Back in 2012, Cartoon Network was at its absolute strongest, so I rarely ever looked away from that channel. I do remember giving the show a try, but it just failed to captivate me, which on the surface seems odd given its premise. The show stars a freshman student who is chosen by the Ninjanomicon to protect the town Norrisville. So, yeah, it's your basic teenager gets your superpowers and becomes a hero story, like American Dragon Jake Long or Danny Phantom, and I really liked both of these shows. So, when the show was announced, I was very excited to check it out, but after a few episodes, I just gave up on it. And while I included this segment into the review just to give an idea of my experience with the show, I will admit, many of my issues with this show still persist even after rewatching it. So, we've got to start off with its most glaring issue, which I suppose might not be an issue depending on your tolerance towards this type of writing. The show is one of those that heavily emphasize teen slang. You know the kind, it's not entirely a new revelation here. Specifically, cartoons in the 90s really leaned hard into this type of writing, and it's persisted through the 2000s. Like, there have been good shows to use slang, like Kim Possible, but the problem with Randy Cunningham isn't the existence of this type of writing, but the absolute volume of it. It's everywhere in this show, in just about every sentence, from just about every character. Okay, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it sure doesn't feel that way when you sit through several episodes. And like I said, depending on your tolerance, this might not even be an issue for you. But for me, it's really too thick to just ignore.
Cunningham, get back here. The ninja's totally getting pwned.
What the juice was that?
Oh, sad trombone.
Ultimate band burn. First, I drop the mic like it's hot.
Ooh, and then I'll pick it up like it's cool.
But I think a bigger problem for me is that the show doesn't really take itself too seriously. Or rather, the humor completely overshadows any sense of the grounded world. And just to clarify, the show does have a grounded setup. You have a 9th grader going to school and dealing with strange occurrences in his town. But the problem is that there's too many characters named after terrible jokes, like Howard Wienerman, or Buttermaker, or Fran's new kid. And then the new scenarios are just as fitting, like the school getting addicted to soupsicles, leading to one of them turning into a monster. And also, as a side note, I'm not a huge fan of the monsters and villains of the show, especially design-wise. Like, okay, some are alright, most are really bad, but none that I've really seen has stuck with me, which I bring up because the show's art style was actually created by the creator of Invader Zim and it's easy to see the similarities. In a lot of ways, both shows are very similar, not just in design, but in their writing. Invader Zim also had a very weird world with a lot of very odd scenarios. And it also had some very weird monster designs, but Invader Zim stands out to me more, and I think it's because the show was daring. The world of Invader Zim was very gritty, surreal, and unexpectable. Meanwhile, Randy Cunningham is playing it very safe and by the numbers. So I feel like the show lost out on any charm it could have had by playing it too safe. All of this is important to note, as it all combines into a terrible mix. The show doesn't take its world seriously. The monsters are bland, so I don't have any real reaction to them in each episode, and the dialogue pains me to sit through, so I don't have any attachment to the characters. It's just easy to understand why the show does nothing for me. But of course, this is all based entirely on my own tastes. And even though I've trashed on it a lot, I will admit there are some good aspects to the show. The animation is better than it has any right to be. The show is animated in Flash, and often enough Flash animated shows tend to put the bare minimum effort. But I wouldn't say Randy Cunningham is above average. I would say amazingly animated. Yeah, at least in Flash TV standards. I mean, the show has a very dynamic look to it, and this is especially showcased in fights, but even normal scenes emphasize a real depth to its world. And it tries hard not to have that flat look like many other Flash shows, and that effort isn't lost on me. And even though I'm not a fan of the writing, I can see the charm of the characters themselves. One thing that really helped the show's writing is the voice cast. I mean, you have Ben Schwartz voicing a very cocky kid with superpowers, which really seems to be a reoccurring role for him. But he and every other actor brings a level of charm to these characters that I feel the writing couldn't hold on its own. Also, I will give the show props on a really clever storytelling device. See, the show's entire premise revolves around a book called the Ninjanomicon. Not only does it supply the show's hero with his powers, but it also offers him advice on certain topics. And this advice is given through Japanese painting style visions that he has to decipher on his own. I thought this was a very clever way to handle this plot device, and it again emphasizes the effort the animators put into the show. With all this said, I don't think Randy Cunningham is a bad show. A lot of the faults I pointed out about the show are part of my own personal tastes. While there have been a lot of shows that I feel like are objectively bad, I don't think Randy Cunningham is the same case. I don't think the show suffers from bad writing or a lack of effort. The show was just clearly made with a certain audience in mind, and just because it's made for that audience, I can't say that it fails as a show. Clearly, it's doing something right to be gaining the popularity as it has on YouTube. All I can say is, if you like what you see, and you think you can tolerate the issues I've brought up, then definitely give the show a fair shot. But as for me, it won't be one of the shows I'll miss from Disney XD's lineup. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe as that helps supports the content we make, and we hope to see you in the next review.